Oh.
With 1.8 seconds, Charles Barkley. Over Ron Williams. 1.9 left in regulation. Kevin hit it. Richardson up ahead. Look out. Hello. Amari Stoudemire elevates and detonates.
Okay, are we live?
I think so.
Okay. Well, I apologize, Planeteers. The video started on my end and immediately froze for like the next 20 seconds. I don't know if it froze on everyone else's end or if it was just me as I was trying to close up tabs on my computer screen as quick as I could, assuming that actually still does something. But welcome in, Suns fans. We've got a heck of a week to recap with you. And yeah, we are joined, of course, by the Boston Bomber, the Boston Bruiser himself. He's back, and he's going to be filling in. Well, not filling in. He's going to be helping me carry the load. We got an injury on the court, and that's going to be a theme for this show. But we got an injury on the court. Kevin is doubtful with a sore throat. So, Bruce, how you doing? And how's your throat? Not sore.
Mine is not sore. Luckily, I feel bad for Kevin. Wishing him a speedy recovery, like Devin Booker and Jalen Green, which we'll get into.
He's noticing some throat tightness.
Yes. Throat tightness, throat soreness, something.
There's a precautionary pull.
Yeah, exactly. And we wish him the speediest recovery. Hope to see him next week as we gear up to have the big three. Not to be mistaken with the big three of Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, but our big three to hopefully dominate the Suns podcasting scene going into next week. But I'm back after going to New Jersey and believing in my Big East Seton Hall team. They unfortunately lost for me while I was there. So not a great weekend to leave, but ultimately a still solid weekend to see some friends. But nice to see the Suns get some wins, even though they did have a little bit of a weird week this week.
No, we certainly did. I'll say we did have a great week last week where Kevin was also a surprise. Kevin has become the Bradley Beal of this podcast. You just never know if he's going to be able to show up at the last second. So I did have to take the shot that King Nacho set up there. Well done, sir. But yeah, we had JC on from Chile last week. So if anyone was not able to join that one, be sure to go back, check it out, and kind of catch up on all the latest that's going on in JC's world. And he was actually sharing with me after the show some really cool things that the Utah Jazz franchise is doing in terms of getting fans from South America and Latin America in general up to have an event and kind of rally in Salt Lake City, all these fans, and help them all come in for a cool event. So maybe that's something that we could see have done for the Suns. As we always say at Sounds Planet, we're trying to build the Suns fan base all across the planet. And so hopefully that's something that can be done. Also, I think it's really smart by the Jazz because they do not have a lot of luxury to lean on right now, trying to convince the local folks of Utah to show up for a game in, game out to see a team that is not, I believe it's bottom 8 because they don't want to lose their first round pick. But they're also not trying to be too good because they know they're not going to go very far if they are too good. So they're looking for that lottery pick. And I believe they're hoping that it stays about 9th, so they still can get some value out of it. And we've been there as Suns fans. We know how that challenge and that feeling can be of, okay, we've got some good stuff, but unfortunately it's just not enough. And the Jazz have, they got a beast right now. And what's his name? Keontae George.
Yeah.
He's been balling out, at least on my fantasy team. And thank goodness, because Jimmy Butler smoked his knee. And now it looks like my chances of actually competing long-term are going to be nil. So anyway, let's start with the what's that?
I said I lost Jimmy Butler in my other league, so I understand how you feel.
Let's talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. There is an injury. Jalen Green returned this last week only to be for precautions to be taken in his second game back because he felt his hamstring tighten, and he did not return to the floor after that. After 4 minutes, Devin Booker, after exploding in the third quarter last night and helping the Suns take a strong, I believe it was 7-point lead, maybe a little bit more before he got injured. And he came down on another player's ankle, grimacing in pain, tried to stand up, could not, and apparently left on crutches. So, Bruce, what is the latest intel you have for us, and what are your thoughts on the whole situation?
I'm just kind of frustrated. I know we saw there was like a reason. Oh, I missed last week's show to be the reason for. I mean, we.
I told Bruce I was going to have some tricks up my sleeve this episode.
That's hilarious. But no, I mean, I'm just kind of furious because I saw the tweet a couple of days ago before the Hawks game, like, we have no injuries on our injury report today. And like that was like a blessing in disguise because like we've had so many injuries, not even just this year with Jalen Green being out and Mark Williams dealing with some injuries to the start of the year, but going back to last year, like with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal and even Devin Booker and the role players like Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen, a lot of players have gone down these last couple of years. So to have like one game of everyone fully healthy and then now just completely lose it is very, very devastating. I know rips at the fans' hearts, makes like me furious. Like, all right, now, like when are we going to see this team fully healthy? It seems like if they were fully healthy, they could be a lot better than what we expect. Like right now, they're 6th in the Western Conference, but they're very close. I think that they could be a 4 or 5 seed if they were fully healthy, and it just stinks that we haven't been able to see that potential due to the fact that Jalen Green and Devin Booker and Grayson Allen and Mark Williams and all these players have just gotten hurt over the season, and it doesn't seem like we can catch a break. I don't know what I've said this since writing for Brightside. I don't know if there's something in the water in Phoenix. I know we're both not there, so we both can't tell, but there's got to be something that's like continuing this injury bug over there because they can't seem to get rid of it, regardless of who the player is, regardless if that player's had no injury history prior, like Jalen Green. It just seems like when people arrive to Phoenix, this injury bug just latches onto them like mysteriously. I don't know if you watch anime, or seen anime, but like there's like certain like things where I can definitely pick that like would be like a ghost or like a ghoul like haunting someone. That's what I feel like when someone gets off the plane in Phoenix, they got this ghoul attached to them that's just like, I'm gonna take away and make sure you get injured 24/7. It's just ridiculous.
Well, that's actually kind of amazing because I was not expecting an anime reference at all in this show. So I love the curveball thrown in there. You know what's wild about it, too, to me, is if you go back to the Steve Nash 7 seconds or less era, the Suns and Phoenix and Arizona in general was considered to be the fountain of youth. Grant Hill showing up and, Amar'e Stoudemire still being able, even though he had microfracture knee surgery in his knee and the thing with his eye where he had to like lay down face flat for like a month or at least a couple of weeks or else risk his eyesight. Steve Nash obviously coming over from Dallas after Dallas said, oh my gosh, he's not going to last much longer. And then he had, multiple MVP seasons in Phoenix. For a while, we had some sort of elixir in the water in the desert. And I don't know if Colorado just decided to put the, enough pollution in the water since it all flows down to Arizona after a while and just be like, take that. Nuggets are going to win the title. So, no, there was for a while. I mean, yeah, Grant Hill, Steve Nash probably being the two best examples of just two guys that were considered way past their prime that, as I mentioned, Nash ended up getting MVPs. Grant Hill ended up having very solid seasons. Not obviously coming back to all-star potential, but I mean, just very quality seasons. So, yeah, no, there for a while there was something, and then the last couple of years, and I'm sure King Nacho is going to allow me to do it. I'm going to blame Bradley Beal for bringing whatever curse he had out there in Washington. Maybe he was protected from the curse while in Washington, and then as soon as he left that bubble, the anime demon latched himself. I hope I'm using these terms correctly, but there was something out there.
Unfortunately, I can concur that Bradley Beal had those injuries while in Washington, so therefore I think he just brought his bad juju alongside him.
So, and that's why I wonder, I mean, did he, like, I'm sure he did to a degree, but like, to me, it's a little bit like Mark Williams, right? Where he was injured a lot. But it was also the Charlotte Hornets saying, we aren't good enough with you, so we're going to go ahead and rest you because we're not going to make a big enough jump if we play you, and we might actually end up winning games that we should not be winning. And I just realized that the light is hitting me very strange. I look kind of purpley. I should definitely have not put on this filter. But hey, it's Sun's Purple Planet. Sun's Orange Planet. That's what we'll go with. And I'm not going to change it. It's too late now. But yep, I knew Nacho would let us know that he was the curse. So, well, hey, don't worry, Suns fans. It wasn't all bad news this week. And if anything, maybe we built up a little bit of success that'll help soften what I think is going to be a challenging blow. We don't know exactly. I'll mention this, and Bruce, you correct me if I'm wrong. You usually have the quicker intel than I do. The hamstring tightness they listed it as precautionary. I've heard very little since then. Coach Ott just said basically it's bad luck. But being that it was precautionary tightness, I don't get the feeling that means, okay, get ready for another 2-month stint of him resting it. I feel like it's a little bit more, okay, we'll see how he feels at the next game and if he can fire it back up. The book injury going on crutches, though, feels a little bit to me like having been on crutches for sprained ankles before, and I'm not a professional athlete that's getting treatment, but still, it's probably a couple of weeks, I would guess, at least a full week. And we do have 4 games before we pod next. But Bruce, do you have any other updates beyond that?
Yeah, I just looked at Dwayne's Twitter. I see the tweet of Ott talking about feeling for them and stuff like that. I would agree with you. I feel like the precautionary hamstring tightness is probably just like he was playing, felt it like tighten a little bit, and was just like, all right, please take me out of the game, because I'm sure that's probably what happened in the Utah game when he came back and then played 1 quarter and then was rushed out because he retweaked it. But I'm sure they're just being extra precautionary, just like they were like with Mark Williams at the beginning of the season with his injuries. The Suns don't really want these players to re-aggravate themselves and keep them out for a longer period of time. You even saw with Grayson Allen that when he was out for an injury, they had him out for an extended period of time. So we could kind of see that with Jalen Green again. I mean, they could just keep him out for a little while. Maybe it's just a couple of games though until he feels that tightness go away and then they bring him back. But I wouldn't be shocked if even after those few games where the tightness does go away, they do hold him out for an additional 1, 2, maybe 3 games just to be extra precautionary. And then with Devin Booker, like you mentioned, I'd guess it'd be a couple of weeks with an ankle injury. If he is coming out on crutches and something to put pressure on it, clearly it's a pretty bad rolled or sprained ankle. So, I mean, I'd say probably out this week, which is going to be a little bit harder for the Suns because then they're going to have to buy into some of these bench mob guys that I wrote about for Brightside to really step up offensively for this team.
Yeah, I feel like if Suns fans were hoping that we could ship out a Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal type player, that's definitely not going to be done right now in the short term when we're going to need these guys probably playing heavy minutes over the next couple of games. Colin Gillespie, I'm ready to see him get some even more playing time. He's certainly been playing a lot, but he hasn't had to carry as much of a load. Load's right back at him. Dylan Brooks is shooting horrendously over the last couple of games, but we'll get into that. I apologize. I said we're going to get into the good stuff. Let's get into the good stuff. Let's start with the New York Knicks game that started right after we potted from the last episode, where the Suns were able to beat the New York Knickerbockers 106-99. Fantastic win. Obviously the Suns did not have Jalen Green in this one, so that was a little bit of something because but the Knicks also didn't have Josh Hart. They don't have Jalen Brunson in this game, but it was still considered to be it was going to be a close game. Vegas had the line very tight, and the Suns were able to come out and get a very solid win over Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns, who now I'm seeing brought up. Or Karl Anthony Towns brought up in trade rumors again, as the Knicks saying, maybe we got to get rid of this guy, and maybe they can convince Milwaukee to take him for Giannis. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole right now, but let's talk about this New York Knicks game and the Suns taking care of business, led by Devin Booker throwing in 27 points. He does love playing in the Garden. Was it McBride and Anunoby and Karl Anthony Towns each chipped in over 21 points each for the Knicks. Not enough, though, as the Suns are just a little deeper. And even though Dylan Brooks shot 2 of 13 in this game, and that might become a bit of a pattern here over as we go over the rest of these games. But, hey, Suns taking care of business, beating what is considered to be one of the top contenders in the East. So it was a, fantastic win. I mean, there's no other way to describe it.
Yeah, this was one of the better wins. For many people that might not know where Seton Hall was or where I was last week, it's in New Jersey. I know most people are on the West Coast, so they might know that. And all my friends that I go to Seton Hall with all live in New York, in upstate New York, so they're all Knicks fans. So this was a fantastic night for me because after Seton Hall lost and I had to endure the pain, at least I didn't have to endure the pain of the Knicks losing and my house like my friends had to, and had to deal with me crap talking them the whole entire time because they do it to me with the Celtics. They did it all last year in the playoffs. I legitimately got taunted at one of my friends' freaking graduation dinners where her and her family brought out Knicks shirts and were like, bing bong, like all like taunting me and stuff. So I got to taunt them back on Saturday, and it was the best feeling in the entire world. After beating them at home, we beat them on the road. You mentioned no Jalen Brunson, no Josh Hart. Same thing that the Knicks had without in the first game, but Devin Booker, who did play in the game, was a game time decision leading up to the game, which was kind of cool. He was questionable to play, so I think that's why the line was closer. But with him coming in, he obviously had that big offensive workload, and then the Suns really got it done. They played New York well. I mean, New York's a tough physical team. I know that they've had some struggles over these last couple of weeks. Like you talked about the Karl Anthony Towns drama. He's not the best fit for their team. They've been, I believe, 2-9 in their last 11 games or something like that. So they have been struggling through this little stretch, but I do think it's a little bit of a rough patch. And I think the Suns kind of took advantage of hitting the Knicks in their weak, rough patch, obviously beating them twice, though 2 times they'll play them this season in that patch and having some great performances offensively, kind of filling in those gaps while Jalen Green was out, which made Suns fans so excited for when Jalen Green was going to return because they saw their starting lineup potentially doing all this crazy stuff with an addition of Jalen Green to kind of take them to that next step. And it kind of stinks that now that's kind of blown up in our face just after maybe 2.5 games again.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're going to probably reference that a few times, but it's tightness. We'll see if they can loosen it prior to the next game, and which is tomorrow, right, against the Heat, I believe.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. And so I don't know if they got to bust out the rolling pin and stretch that sucker out again and get it loosened up. But if there was a time to test to see if it could be loosened up and put back in, it would be now with Booker likely shelved for at least a week, I would guess. It could be a chance for Jalen Green to shine. And we talked about that in the last week's episode that, there's no, probably trade coming that's going to massively shift the Suns' odds. The talk of, Giannis coming to the Valley that I saw get tweeted out the other day by
who tweeted that out?
Oh, D-Book owns you.
Okay. There,
yeah.
there we go. There we go.
Unshockingly, he had Grayson Allen in the trade because he has never wanted Grayson Allen on this team for every year since he's been here. He's like, time to send him out. And then it's like Booker's on the shelf for 2 weeks. Like, hey, he's fine. Let him rest. And it's like Grayson misses 2 games in a row. It's like, what a bum. And I'm like, wow, this is why I'm very excited to see that Justin from Fan the Flames is going to write an article about stands, and because I saw a lot of stuff blowing up about Kevin Durant online the other day as well, with him getting very upset that Suns fans, they're just so ridiculous too, and putting the blame on him. So and on the stands in general, but no, like what's been said, the Suns had a great game, but the hope was that Jalen Green is going to come and help this team go to that next level. I mean, maybe, again, not championship contenders, but maybe climbing up the leaderboard a little bit. And again, we were already finding ourselves in 4th, 5th, 6th seeds over the last week plus. So we'll see, if the Suns can hang tough and wait for the reinforcements. It feels like we've been doing that all year. But yes, Suns, as I mentioned, were able to take care of business against a talented and deep New York Knicks team that is in a little bit of a slump. But hey, took care of business. And the next game, again, took care of business. We stayed in the greater New York area, this time taking on the Brooklyn Nets. And this game, 126-117. I don't know, Bruce, if you felt the same. To me, it never felt like we were in trouble, but it was closer than it should have been. The Nets, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, did they basically, I think they got the lead down to 3 or 4 points going into halftime after being down double digits. And so the Nets kept scrapping, but the Suns finished them off and kept them kind of on the ropes throughout the game.
Yeah, that's the thing with Jordi Fernandez and this Nets team those last 2 years is I always think that they're going to be worse than they are, but they just have that like scrappy fightness in them every single game. And I think it comes down to Jordi Fernandez being their coach and trying to just like bringing out the best of their players, because even at 12-29, which they are on the season, they've had close games, and even a game versus the Suns where you'd consider our Suns probably what, top 12, top 13 team in the NBA at this point, maybe top 15 if you want to kind of say that. To be in the top half and playing one of the bottom half teams and only beating them by 10 points, like keeping in that fight, that's something that we would look at the Suns from like last year or 2 years ago when they were or mainly last year when they were in their slump towards the end of the season, where if like they were in a close game but lost in the third quarter, be like, all right, yeah, that was a good game. Like that's kind of where the Nets are now. So pretty fun game for the Suns, though. You mentioned Devin Booker, 24 points. Colin Gillespie kind of getting back to his self, getting kind of hot. He had a little bit of a cold streak these last like previous week or two before this week. Now he's kind of getting back into stride. He had 22 points, 5 3-pointers, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, kind of doing all. And then Grayson Allen, man, he's also, since he's come back from his injury, he had a little bit of a rough start right at the beginning, kind of dating back to last week. But this week has been very consistent for the Suns team, and is kind of just showcasing to me, but I think, like you've mentioned as well, showcasing to a lot of other players, not even now with obviously Devin Booker and Jalen Green, he's going to be so much more viable, but just as a fit for this culture and this identity, not only as like a creator, as a shot scorer, but someone that can be that hustle guy on the defensive end who's going to be relentless and show you that effort. And I think that's exactly what Jordan wants from these guys, and that's why he's been such a sticking point for this Suns effective defense too.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's a great description of Grayson. Is his contract a little inflated? Yeah, a little bit. I mean, that's 100%. Like the nerd in us at this point. It's like, well, he's probably more of a 12.5 instead of a 17. And so it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, sorry you overpaid him a few $1 million. But he's still a sniper from 3. He's a strong defender, maybe not elite, but he's a good, hard hustling defender. He added weight. He can actually guard some of the bigger guys out there in the court now too. And him and Royce have really demonstrated their value. These are two kind of guys that if you had a fully healthy roster, that these guys would be elite bench players, is the way I kind of look at them. Like if they're in your starting lineup, you're like, okay, they're not the best players to start, but they are probably just about better than just about anyone else's bench players at this point. And so I put them up against some of the best in the league in terms of first guys off the bench. And so it's been phenomenal to see kind of Royce and Grayson's efforts this year. Just so much. Again, we've talked about this a lot. Night and day difference compared to the last season in terms of mentality too. Michael Porter Jr. Did lead the Nets with 23 points on 10 of 23 shooting, 2 of 10 from 3. It's kind of an interesting story because I feel like everyone keeps talking about him potentially getting traded, and while I still think it's certainly a possibility, I think he's kind of being overvalued by the Nets, and we kind of saw this with one of our favorites, Cam Johnson. When you are the only guy on the team that can kind of get your own shot, it's kind of easy to inflate your value. I guess I'll put it this way: I'm glad the Suns haven't been mentioned too much in the Michael Porter Jr. sweepstakes. Nets just need to continue to take some time.
Wouldn't want what we have, unfortunately. We don't have a first.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Hey, how about a second round pick, Nets? Can we get you excited?
But you know who they are interested in? According to Evan Cedery, Miles Bridges. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, I was surprised to see that come back up. Of course, we do have a love affair with anyone from Charlotte at the moment.
And
Nick Richards, Mark Williams.
Do you know where he went to college?
Big East?
No. Matt Ishbia.
Oh,
Michigan State. Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
I mean,
we're gonna build.
We're gonna build. I texted in the group chat, and in the Brightside group chat, I was like, "Don't be shocked if Xavier Tillman somehow ends up on this team by the deadline too, just because he doesn't play for Boston and he also went to Michigan State."
Yeah.
They need a power forward. They need a power forward. Oh, Xavier Tillman. Let's go get him. He makes $2 million.
That's right. Xavier Tillman. Well, let's jump. Let's just keep the good vibes rolling. Because then the Suns took on the Philadelphia 76ers, heading out of the New York area down to Philly, taking care of business once again, 116-110. The 76ers are in kind of an interesting position right now. There was no Paul George for the game, and there was no Joel Embiid for this game either. So you think probably, oh, the Suns have a strong chance, but Vegas didn't quite see it that way. The Suns were favored, but only by 2.5 points because Maxey and Edgecombe and the rest of the 76ers have been stepping up, Quentin Grimes. And it was a competitive game. As I mentioned, we only won by 6. Edgecombe leading the 76ers with 25 points, but the Suns, once again, Devin Booker, 27 points, was able to take care of business. This was the second of 3 bad shooting nights for Dillon Brooks, 2 of 13 from the floor in this one for a 15% shooting rate or shooting percentage, 0 of 3 from 3-point range. And this was actually the Jalen Green return game. He got just under 20 minutes. So let's start there. We were told when Jalen comes back, he will be starting, and then that shifted pretty quickly. Okay, let's just have you come off the bench because the Suns are playing well, and there's no reason to kind of jeopardize that starting lineup cohesiveness. 20 minutes, nothing too splashy. The numbers that he ended up finishing with: 4 of 11 shooting, 36%. He was 2 of 4 from 3-point range. 3 assists, couple of turnovers, a couple rebounds. But what do you think of the Jalen Green return game before we get to the Jalen Green injury game?
I loved it. And as someone that's liked Jalen Green since high school, I think it's finally time that every Suns Twitter page that I saw tweeting about this trade saying how terrible it was going to be because Jalen Green and Devin Booker played the same position is now quickly shaking in their boots and tweeting out, I love how Jalen Green plays with this team. Jalen Green looks so great with this squad. His fit looks absolutely amazing with this starting lineup. And I just chuckle and laugh because if I just clicked on your profile and searched up Jalen Green on your Twitter, I could just pull up with 10 different accounts that cover the Suns, just bad tweets, and just retweet them all, and it would just be so funny to do. So I love to see the people just backpedaling on the Jalen Green experience because if you look at my Twitter, yeah, I've talked bad about Jalen Green, but there's no way in hell that I've talked about him being a bad fit for the Suns. I've talked about his inefficiencies before. I've talked about that stuff, and we haven't really seen that with this Suns tenure, which I like a lot. He's been really, really well, especially in this game coming off the bench with Oso Ighodaro, my guy, the guy I made the drop for this Suns team, and someone that I've believed in with this squad that's really gotten this resurrection, I guess, not even in the second half of the season because we just crossed over the first half, just halfway point, but towards his comfortability of getting his backup bench role, he's worked really well. And him and Jalen Green had a lot of connective passes and a lot of connective plays. And in that game versus 76ers on that bench unit, that aided Jalen Green to get comfortable on the offensive end and to help out with Oso Ighodaro as well, which I really, really liked. I think it's smart that they brought him off the bench, kind of coming back into this game, giving him that 20 minutes kind of like ramp up period so that he could get that opportunity. But I do think if he does come back healthy before the end of the season, that he will eventually get into that starting lineup. And I do think with him and Booker into that starting lineup with Brooks, Royce, and Mark Williams, that this starting 5 could actually be very lethal. So yeah, I mean, the Sixers, fun team. You mentioned no PJ, no Paul George, no Joel Embiid, but Maxey and Edgecombe are kind of 2 rising stars in this league, outperforming even Kelly Oubre, who is very streaky and a former Phoenix Sun, had an revenge game versus us and had 21 points as well. So got to tip my hat to the Sixers because as a Celtics fan as well, I don't like the Sixers or the Knicks. And the Sixers have been the team that have surprised me. The Knicks, I thought were going to be good, and I didn't think they were going to be like top tier, but I did think they were going to be good. But the Sixers, I had it as like a 10 seed, and they've definitely outdone my expectations with the VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey rise.
Yeah, I feel like the 76ers, and to a degree, your Boston Celtics as well, have been the Phoenix Suns of the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
2 teams that were, okay, this is just not going to keep doing well. Like the 76ers have to get off of Paul George, have to get away from Joel Embiid. It's not going to work anymore. And instead, they've built around their new players, and they're trying to kind of slowly feed back in Paul George and Joel Embiid to restore their value a little bit. And they're 24-19. Their record speaks for itself. They're competitive, and if the playoffs were to start today, they'd be in it. The Celtics, another example of, okay, we're punting on the season was everybody's hot take, or it wasn't even hot take. It was very much expected. Like you got rid of arguably your 3rd and 4th best player. And then all of a sudden you're just like, all right, we're going to turn it over to our 2nd best player because our best player is on the injury sheet for probably the season. And instead now it's, hey, the Celtics have a good team. The second best player might actually be their best player. And all of a sudden, I'm gonna stick with that because he won the NBA Finals MVP, and then all of a sudden maybe not injured for the whole year. So Celtics, are the Suns a little bit in the Eastern Conference? I'm in the 76ers, where people I think were just like too much weight, too much salary into guys that can't play. And there's no way they're going to remain competitive. And it's tough for those teams because the picks aren't there. And look at them. They're surprising people.
Yeah, I kind of figured they would be kind of the Suns of last year, right? Like last year, the Sixers kind of had those expectations too, where like they signed Paul George and everyone was like, oh, this big three of Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey is going to change the league. And then they got the third overall pick because they were just hurt the whole year. So like I thought that was similarly going to happen this year again, where they were going to have those same issues where everyone was going to be hyping up Joel Embiid. He was going to play like 20 minutes a game. But Embiid has looked pretty solid in the minutes that he has played this year as well. George also, like with Maxey's and Edgecombe's rise, has been pretty solid as like a connective piece. So they've been pretty good this year. Kind of definitely shocking in my ends. And then, I mean, just happy that the Suns are able to take away a victory here, especially on the road. Like coming into this week, obviously they had lost on the road trip just starting out to the Heat and the Pistons, so going 0-2 on the road trip. But then coming back, did very, very solid to finish it up, winning, 4 straight, especially all on the road, taking care of business. And in an East Coast where it's kind of cold and frigid right now in the middle of January or late January, getting into early February, where a team like the Suns traveling from Arizona might be adjusting to the cold a little bit harder than teams that are used to playing in it. I do like that they were able to kind of come out there and take advantage, even on some nights where they probably weren't feeling the best due to the fact that they were coming out on the bus and it's 10 degrees in Philadelphia compared to like 50 or 60 in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like I said, all told, the 76. I'll say the Brooklyn Nets 12-31 they're a scrappy 12-31. I don't look at them quite the same way as I look at the Washington Wizards, for example, who are just kind of like, what are we doing here? And they're looking for kind of individual development. The Nets are kind of playing together, and when you string along, win over the Knicks, win over the Nets, win over the 76ers, I'd say that's a good one, good enough to get you into the boom room.
What's the name of that nightclub of yours again?
You talking about the Boom Boom Room?
Yeah, the Boom Boom Room. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, really got to change it up because I'm the only one from that club at this point. No, like I said, had we not ended last night with a loss to the Hawks, and really, I would just say, more importantly, the injuries to Green and to Booker, this week is a smashing success. Like, even if we would have lost to the Hawks, like, obviously you want to win all 4 games, but we ended up losing 110-103 to the Atlanta Hawks. As we mentioned, Devin Booker goes down in less than 29 minutes. Jalen Green played just over 4 minutes. And it was really devastating because Booker had 31 points into the third quarter before he had to exit the game. And the team at that point turned, I think, a little heavily to Dylan Brooks, who Kevin did say he couldn't be on the show, but he wanted to make sure we dunked a little bit on Dylan the Villain. And Dylan did shoot 4 of 18 for 22%, 1 of 5 from 3-point range. So, here's the new short version of Dylan Brooks. And he really doesn't deserve the drop, but I just wanted to show people we've got a shorter one. But, let's talk about the Hawks game. What do you think, Bruce?
So unfortunately, I was working a little bit yesterday, so I did miss the beginning of the game. So I didn't even get to see the Jalen Green injury, which kind of stunk. Like I legitimately got home and saw that he got hurt. So I was like, all right, great thing to get started on my Friday night is to see the second best player get hurt. And then Devin Booker got hurt right after. So obviously tough experiences there. Once again, Grayson Allen, Colin Gillespie trying to will this thing offensively, and You think we're going to be saying that a lot with Devin Booker and Jalen Green out, trying to will this thing offensively? Because when I wrote about them for the bench article that I did, where I talked about how the Suns bench of Gillespie, Allen, Goodwin, Ryan Dunn, and Osagadaro, like statistically, is one of the like better defenses and has like some great all around counting stats on either counting the or advanced stats from counting the glass or from Data Baller. They were going to be like those main offensive outputs for that bench unit. And now with Devin Booker and Jalen Green being out, you assume they're going to be starting and taking over those roles for the Suns in that starting lineup with Allen already replacing Booker earlier in the season, just a couple games ago when that did happen, where he had a very solid game. And then Gillespie has obviously been filling in for Jalen Green in that starting lineup as that guard that they haven't replaced. So I do think we will see some rise with them, and I expecting some younger guys to really get the leash extended as well, right? Jamari Bouye, who was really, really hot and doing a good job for the Suns, who went out with a concussion for a little while, hasn't really been seeing much action with this Suns team as of late on that two-way contract. I'd expect him to get more life with obviously guys like Devin Booker and Jalen Green being out. Maybe even a player in Kobe Brea, who's been playing for the Valley Suns, could get some opportunity. Isaiah Livers, who's also been on a two-way, I know is a wing, but he provides some offense. I think he could get some more looks, but that's stuff I'm just looking forward to. When overall looking at the game, it's a tough loss, 110 to 103. I believe the Suns also haven't won in Atlanta in forever. I know I saw
12 games.
I was going to say, I saw a post by Suns Worldwide, shout out to him, about it, where he said that they hadn't won in like a couple of years. So once again, can't win in Atlanta in a couple of years. Going to have to look forward to doing it next year when the Suns go there. But hopefully the next time they go there, they actually have Jalen Green and Devin Booker not playing 4 minutes or 29 minutes a game, but the full game, and they can actually take advantage of that going into Atlanta. But yeah, tough loss for the Suns here. You'd like to see Dylan Brooks do a little bit better offensively. You'd like to see Mark Williams help out a little bit more, but it is what it is.
Yeah, the Hawks, I mean, I have no doubt if Booker was able to finish this game, we would have won coming away with this one. The Hawks have their own injuries to deal with as well. Porzingis is out. Reese's share is out. They do have Jalen Johnson, Okongwu, CJ McCollum chipped in 21 points for him. I think we were up 7 or maybe even 9 before Booker went down, and Booker was absolutely on fire. And I think the thing that I keep coming back to with Dylan Brooks is Dylan Brooks. We talked about this a lot this season so far. He's they're giving him the green light, and it's worked more than it hasn't. I will mention that. But I feel like even when Booker and Green are out, should still be looked at as your third offensive option. Because in that fourth quarter, it quickly became him taking deep contested twos and rushed threes. And I'm like, dude, Grayson Allen is right there. And Grayson can put the ball on the floor. Grayson had been shooting 7 of 12. Granted, not super hot from 3-point range, but most efficient shooting outside of actually more efficient than Booker was shooting last night by just a small margin. But you've got Grayson Allen, you've got Colin Gillespie that can drive and dish and create something a little bit more, especially for the bigs. And instead, it was kind of Dylan trying to play a little bit of hero ball. I'm sure that's we've talked about. That's going to be the double-edged sword of Dylan the villain. Is if the emotions get the better of him, he will try and take things over. I think it's easier for him not to get that way when you have Booker and Green in the lineup, because he can kind of see other offensive options. But I think he needs to kind of develop a little bit more trust. And I go back to like the game against Suns against the Thunder, where the Suns got blown out, and it was really, to me, the only bad blowout of the year. But there was no Booker, there was no Green, and there was kind of, we were competitive in the first half, and then after that, Brooks has to realize that he can be good, he can put the ball in the basket, but if he's not going to get some of these other role players involved, we're just not going to be successful. So it's going to be the Suns haven't been tested yet. They will be tested this week as we're going to go in to as I mentioned, 4 games this week, and we can get into those. But no, I think would you predict that we're going to see a little bit more of the Suns rookies in this week? Is it kind of time to do a little beta testing, so to speak?
I I think we'll see more of the younger guys for sure. I don't necessarily know if I mean Rasheer definitely could get some burn. I know he was getting some when Grayson Allen was out as well to kind of fill in for that wing position there. But with them losing guards, I feel like it will be more just Bouye getting more run, maybe Kobe Brea. I don't really expect Malawatch to get much just because they haven't really been giving him that much of a run this season, but we could definitely see that as well. I mean, they have who do they have this week? They have the Heat, then they have the Nets again, the Pistons, and the Cavs. So all these teams that they faced on their Eastern Conference road trip are now basically just turning around and flying to Phoenix, which will be very, very interesting. But a lot of, once again, tough physical teams, so they'll definitely be missing Booker and Green if they are out for those games extensively. But I do think Bouye, Gillespie, Allen will probably kind of be those guys that they kind of lock into for that offensive output here. And you mentioned Dylan Brooks kind of shooting the shots. We saw what happened in Memphis when he was kind of being that role a couple years ago. I think if he kind of gets back into that Houston role where he's kind of that third or fourth option, like you were mentioning, letting guys like Royce O'Neal, Gillespie, Grayson Allen kind of command that offense, we might be in a little bit of a better spot.
Well, and I think we've seen it so many times this year. It's so easy to believe in, like the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. When the ball is moving, sometimes you need Devin Booker to get you a basket. Sometimes you need it, very rarely, Jalen Green to get you a basket just because he hasn't been available. It's harder to see that. But sometimes, okay, we need to make this basket and put the pressure back on them, and that's when you need that solo act of Devin Booker breaking somebody down. But when the ball's moving from Royce to Grayson to Collin to Brooks, and they're passing it around and kicking it around and driving in, if it's not open for a layup, then you kick it back out and move it. We've seen the execution work, and it's been, again, so much better and more fun to watch than the last couple of years, where it's just like, then it gets to KD and he sits and he's like, all right, I'll take it from here. And it's like, okay, all right, our guys will go stand in the corner then in case you need them. But like when they're all firing off on all cylinders, it's an amazing thing to watch. I hope we can find that, especially over the next two games. And hopefully Green maybe would be able to come back. As you mentioned, we played the Heat tomorrow, the Nets in a couple of days. That's going to be on Tuesday. Then the Pistons and the Cavaliers in the back-to-back in Phoenix. It'd be great if we could, I don't know, obviously how much time Green's going to need, but we can give him 2 games. If we want to try and be competitive against the Pistons and the Cavs, I don't think we can go with the platoon role and just have no Booker and no Green and hope we can win. I will say this, though. This team, if you ever see the lead build up, and I have multiple times this season, and here's the degenerate betting tip of the episode. If you see them go down double-digit points, grab that point spread, and that the Suns will, plus 14 back to the Suns, because they will find a way to get it back down under double digits. They might end up losing. They lost to the Hawks last night. But if, there was a game, I forget where it was. It might have been a week ago or so, but all of a sudden, I forgot who they were playing, but it was the spread all of a sudden became Suns plus 17. I was like, yeah, no, the Suns will drill that down very quickly, and they did. And then about 3-4 possessions, all of a sudden it was a 8-point lead, and it was a game again. So this team is scrappy. That's why they're fun to watch. That's why we get excited to do these episodes again. Last year was painful. I don't know if all the Planeteers know. Like, there's a reason why Hamo got so burned out that he's like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this right now. And so it's a lot more fun, even with these injuries, to be like, oh, yeah, no, this team's fighting hard, so we can put an episode together.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the injuries. It's definitely tough because they have the expectations of being good this year. So you're like, oh, if we didn't have the injuries, like we could be so much better. We could be just in such a brighter spot. And then who knows, right? Like, obviously, other teams in the West have had injuries. So if the Suns really don't have any, they could be even in some better spots than some of these teams, maybe even ahead of the Lakers, ahead of the Rockets, which they were a couple weeks ago. Like I mentioned, as a 4, maybe even top 3 seed here in the West, which would just be shocking comparative to what they were predicted to be at the beginning of the season and with their expectations and everyone saying they're going to have a terrible defense and be, a bottom feeder. It would have been just like miraculous kind of change of pace, kind of similar to like the Cavs from a couple years ago in the East, or even the Pacers a couple years ago. Like, those teams just changing it and absolutely just taking off and the Suns would have had that a little bit of similarity. But I do think that this Suns team, even with the injuries, is still more fun than last year, and that's something that you just have to be happy with. Like last year, we would get on here and like you mentioned, we'd be like, oh, what do we think they're gonna go? 1-3, 0-4. There were never 3-1s. They were never like we were always negative. We always knew they were gonna be negative. And like I can't believe that last year I was like Cody Martin. Like it's just crazy to think that like I was hype over someone that unfortunately, even though he was a good spark plug for the Suns last year, is not in the league right now. So like it just goes to show you. And like Bull's not in the league anymore. Like you look at the Suns roster from last year, I think the only player that got traded that's performing well are Nurkic and Josh Okogie, and Josh Okogie shouldn't even gotten traded. He was just only traded because the Suns were bad, and he was their like one of tradable contracts. And Nurkic got traded because Budenholzer benched him and didn't get along with the team.
Yeah,
that's the reasons why. So
I still
like,
blame Bud a little bit for that one.
Yeah.
Trying to not that Nurk is any type of like massive game changer.
He had back-to-back triple doubles the other day in Utah before they benched him.
Yeah,
so
he's doing fine.
He can do certain stuff in an extent, and I think at this point of his career, he's a backup center. Now he makes $19 million, so like for a team to play him at backup center, it'd have to be like a Utah or Washington team that has the money. It's not like a team right now can take him on that contract. But I think next year, once he becomes a free agent, I think if you could get Nurkic at like 10 mil or less, if you're any contending team as a backup center, that's a pretty good job. But we all know it won't be Phoenix because they obviously don't have a good relationship with him.
Right. No.
He also did you see him? Sorry to go off topic. Did you see him clap back on someone on Twitter?
Nurk?
Yeah.
He's pretty vicious.
Yeah, I know. So
he'll go through somebody's like media and be like, "Is this you looking fat at your wedding or something like that?" Like he can be brutal. I'm just like, you know what? I'm glad I was always nice to Nurk. Like there's no reason for him to come after me.
Some YouTuber that I watched, his name is 6 Rings of Steel. I don't know if you know him, but he does like
is this the guy that was trying to claim that you can't like the Jazz shouldn't build around a certain few players and Nurk like was like, oh, okay, because this is you and you look like you know ball, and it was like showing the guys like triple chin.
No, it wasn't that. It was
one.
But kind of like that, yeah, because he tweeted out like how is Jusuf Nurkic doing this? Like giving him praise, like, oh wow, I didn't expect this out of Jusuf Nurkic. And Jusuf Nurkic like screenshotted his like LinkedIn profile picture, like his profile picture, was like when it says entrepreneur in your LinkedIn bio, but you're something like that, and everyone was clapping back, like, dude, he's giving you a compliment. Why are you roasting him? Why are you roasting him? And then his next YouTube video, I watched it. He was like, yeah, yada yada yada, and then Nurkic put up a triple double the next day, and he's like, no way, he's about to do this again. And they're like, why you tweet out he? Why won't you say his name? Because he knew he would get quoted. It was so funny. But it's been someone I watched.
Nurk's got that Eastern European. He's Bosnian, right? Yeah, the Bosnian.
Yeah, Bosnian.
They got that very dark sense of humor. You know, it works well for them. No, I think here's an interesting reference. I was just thinking about this the other day. It was before your time, Bruce, but maybe you were young enough to recall some of it. Do you remember WCW?
I know of WCW. I never
know
watched
of it.
WCW.
Yes. All right. Well, there you go. So there in the 90s, there was the Monday Night Wars. And this was like a thing where it like there was a lot of wars by brands, Pepsi versus Coke, could Taco Bell steal like the number one fast food, stuff from like McDonald's and Burger King. Well, the wrestling channels, there was WWF and WCW. And what was interesting about WCW is for a while, they actually came out of kind of nowhere. They were supported by TBS, the Ted Turner, money. And they had all of a sudden huge stars like Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage. And then when they brought over the Outsiders, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall from WWF, and they formed the NWO. It was like game breaking in the sense like ratings were through the roof, and they took over the Monday Night Wars for a while. What's interesting to look at in retrospect, and this is like a little bit of the nerdiness, and it reminds me a little bit, and this is why I'm kind of connecting it, is the contracts that the Hogans and the Nashes and the Halls signed gave them creative control to where there was like, oh, okay, if they had some young talent that was hustling in the ring and the fans were cheering for him, then it's like, oh, okay, this guy's going to be great. And then, management would say, we should, quote unquote, put this guy over. We should give him one of the title belts he should beat Hogan could say, no, I'm going to beat him. And what they could do is they could have like Hogan run away for like 12 episodes, like scared, and then Hogan would somehow cheat and win one match. And it was to protect their older stars. And so the young talent got frustrated. They'd say it's, kind of politics in the back rooms, and they could just not get over. And they got kind of disillusioned. And a lot of them went to WWF or ECW, and only a few were ever kind of given the shot. Diamond Dallas Page being one of them, to kind of quote unquote get over. So that kind of reminded me a little bit of Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal. Booker is kind of a part of that. I mean, not that Hogan and these guys were not talented; they certainly were. But when you have people like a Josh Okogie and a Colin Gillespie and people that are going to, bust their, to hustle and try and get things done, but then the ball just stops when it gets to Kevin Durant's hands, it's kind of like, okay, you're going to try and make a basket instead of all of us, putting in all the effort and the whole team accelerating. It kind of became the success of the individuals a little bit more. And Bradley kind of had a Scott Hall moment where Scott Hall became very unavailable because of some very dark personal habits. Was, I'm not saying that's what Bradley Beal had, but he would probably be the Scott Hall of the team. And big Kevin Durant was probably the Kevin Nash. Kevin Durant's probably Kevin. I'm saying it right. Yeah. Either way, I see a few people. Yeah. Nacho knows what I'm talking about with the NWO and Wolfpack for life. But it just goes to show that, like, in the end, WCW folded up shop and got bought by WWF. And it was acquired by people that allowed talent to rise to the top. I think we've seen that a little bit more this year. That's why Colin Gillespie's in the starting lineup on a minimum contract. We've seen Dylan Brooks get an opportunity to shine, and more often than not, it's worked. Not always, but more often. Royce is doing better. Grayson's doing better. There's more buy-in from the team overall. And so that's exciting to see. One thing I want to talk about before we go to predictions, and we've already kind of touched on the schedule a little bit, but I haven't called for the full, prediction yet. But let's talk trades. I threw out a trade idea the other day, and there we go. Let's see, what can we do? Okay, I'm putting on some little background music. Let's get a little background music going and see what the Planeteers think of this trade idea. So everyone, of course, has been talking about, hey, you know what the Suns need? Suns need a power forward, and can we get it? And all of a sudden, did it move? Let me see. Let's see. Where is? I had the image, and I'm not just trying to let the music play more.
I like this music.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so Suns need a power forward, you say, and we know Nick Richards is out of the rotation. So, you being the Celtics guy, break down and let us know what you think of this. But in this particular trade scenario, that I think helps both teams, and I actually reached out to you and asked about the backup center position to make sure of it. But this apparently could go through. The Suns would send Nick Richards and Nigel Hayes-Davis, who is out of the rotation at this point too, and he's on a minimum one-year contract, for, help me out, Chris Boucher. Power forward. He came, you might know, he's actually had more success when he was playing for the Toronto Raptors, but he's on a one-year minimum contract right now with the Celtics. It looks like he's kind of out of the rotation at the moment too. But hey, we get a second-round pick back, Chris Boucher. We end up ducking a little bit under the tax and saving some money, which apparently is, becoming more and more of a high priority. So people want to talk about that, but saves us money, gets us a second-round pick, and gets us a solid rotational piece at the power forward position. What do you think?
I actually don't mind this for the Suns' perspective. Personally, Boucher, like you mentioned, has been played out of the Celtics rotation. They went a little bit weird this season, obviously losing Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford. They had to kind of experiment with some of these bigs. So they went in and brought in some kind of filler guys. They went and brought Chris Boucher. They had Xavier Tillman. They signed Namish Keita, and they went and signed Luka Garza. Now, Boucher, out of those rotation guys, has been played basically the least. He's kind of, I don't know if he's fallen into the doghouse with Joe Mazzulla per se, but really hasn't been given that light. He was utilized a lot early in the preseason and towards the early start of the season with his viable three-point shooting, but I don't think his defense is really what Joe really would want from this forward position, so he's kind of reluctantly hasn't played him as much, which I think can make him available for the Suns here in a trade where they do need some size in the front court, could use some three-point shooting in the front court as well. That's why a lot of people have looked at the name of Bobby Portis, and something that we've talked about as well here on the podcast. But with Bobby Portis kind of being a little bit expensive and having to cost either a Grayson Allen or Royce O'Neal, and maybe some Suns fans not wanting to kind of break up that, using a contract of Nigel Hayes-Davis and Nick Richards to get off of which they don't necessarily need, for a player in Chris Boucher to maybe add something or a potential piece, definitely is worth it just to take the flyer on, especially with him being, I believe, a 1-year contract just this year. He was waived and bought by the Raptors, so he's only on a 1-year deal. So at the end of the year, if it doesn't work out, you basically lose the money, and that's what's going to happen to Nick Richards and Nigel Hayes-Davis anyways, with both of them being free agents. You mentioned the Suns needing to duck the tax. That's something that just helps with like the repeater and stuff, so it makes it a little bit easier for them. So ducking that luxury tax would be good for this Suns team. The question is, do the Celtics want to take that deal? They do need some help in that center department. Like I mentioned, still trying to kind of figure out who can play behind Nemish Queta. So maybe they take a flyer on Nick Richards as well and bring in Nigel Hayes-Davis. The one problem is the Celtics are adding money in that deal, so it might be a little bit harder for them. But I do think for the Suns, getting Chris Boucher and a 2032 second round pick for Nick Richards would be something that they should take a flyer on, specifically because it's not going to destroy the main core of this roster or kind of the rotation players that they're really using. It's basically taking someone that's just not in the rotation and taking a flyer on someone that can maybe add to this rotation.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I kind of had to come to accept, is that, there's not a lot of teams lining. There's interest in Nick Richards, but it's not a high value type deal.
Yeah.
It's a $5 million expiring contract. The reason why I add Nigel in there is so that we can save much closer to the full $5 million if we were to send somebody out. And of course, everyone keeps talking about power forwards. Chris Boucher has had some success in this league, especially in his time in Toronto. He's a 6'9" forward that can play that position. I see a little bit. King Nacho wants to trade for Marvin Bagley. That's
another one I like.
And well, let me ask you this, and because Michael P had a point too. We need a starter at 4. Do we need a starter at 4 at this point? And I guess that's or is it possible to get a starter at the 4 position? I would say that's going to be much more. If you are trading, you would have to trade away much more valuable pieces to try and claim the starter.
Yeah, I think what Michael P kind of means by we need a starter at the 4, and I would agree with him, is for the Suns to take that next step to be a championship level team, they need that kind of dominating starting 4, because I love Royce O'Neal. We've been praising him up this whole entire show. I love Ryan Dunn. I love Dylan Brooks. I love these wings, but they're not that like top tier impact wing that's going to take control of the game and dominate for you. Maybe they can in some short instances in some games, but not every single night. They're not that dominant wing. And like Michael P says, we do need that kind of guy, right? Like they need that Jaren Jackson, Lauri Markkanen-esque type forward to kind of be that dominating force alongside Devin Booker. But like you just mentioned, Jake, it's not really available out there on the market. And for the Suns to do that, they're going to have to trade either A, Jalen Green, who they haven't gotten a full evaluation on, or Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen, and other pieces to get that done. And personally, I don't think that's really worth it, especially this season with the Suns not only just dealing with injuries, but just kind of playing with house money at this point with the expectations that they've already hit. I think that it's kind of just a free Willy season where the Suns are just kind of just sticking in the core, seeing what sticks. And then next year, once they sign Mark Williams, sign Colin Gillespie back, really find out who these key pieces are. Like Michael P just said as well, with Fleming getting a little bit better, Brea, Malawach, we can kind of see those guys grow. I'm not saying that Fleming is going to be that starting power forward for this Suns team, but I do think he can be that quality guy like a Royce O'Neal, and we see Royce O'Neal can start for this team, so who knows, maybe he can definitely be that type of guy. So I think that's kind of where we are. When talking about Marvin Bagley with King Nacho, I like that deal as well, because Marvin Bagley actually makes less than Nick Richards. He makes around $2 million, where Nick Richards makes $5 million. So if the Suns were able to do a Nick Richards for Marvin Bagley deal, I think they could get in a guy that could play the power forward and center, but also someone that is going to help them save money by ducking the luxury tax as well, which will help them out in the for future. And Bagley's also on a 1-year deal, so it's not like they're committing to him long term.
Yeah, I would say that the difference too for me on that one is, Bagley's younger than Boucher. I think Boucher, I think, is now 30, 31. So he's not old, but the idea of like, oh, he's preparing to take the next step probably is sailed a little bit. And in fairness, Bagley is what, late 20s? I mean, he's not much younger, but he's, I think, a little younger. To me, I think the challenge is because Bagley's with Washington. Washington wants picks. If you want their players, they want picks, and they're going to be less interested in sending picks back for a Nick Richards. And I'm a little bit more in the camp of I'd rather not do anything with this team that messes with the chemistry that's been building. But I would be open to acquiring picks to kind of restock the cupboard after we've raided them over the last few years. So anything that does that, that's why I was thinking more of a Chris Boucher. But if I'd say there's a little higher ceiling, with a Bagley approach, but you're not going to get, you're not going to get a pick back. You're probably not even going to get a second round pick back. And if anything, Washington might say you sent a second round pick. Then is how I would assume that one. But that's my take. Let's do predictions real quick and then move to close. Let's see. We've got, as we mentioned, 4 games lined up, all in Phoenix, so that's at least going to help. Starting tomorrow night with the Miami Heat, 23-22, coming into town to visit, followed by the Brooklyn Nets, 12-31, and then Detroit Pistons on Thursday night at 32-11, followed immediately by the Cleveland Cavaliers, 26-20. All right, prediction time. What do you got, Bruce?
I'm gonna go 2-2 this week. I know that sounds a little weird because we have the injuries, but the Heat have been struggling with injuries. I know Tyler Hero's been out for them for a little while. I know last time the Suns played the Heat, Bam Adebayo resurrected like a god and was just making every 3-point shot and dominating. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but I do think they'll lose that game, unfortunately. And I think the Pistons, as we saw with Booker, they're just very physical. They're a tough team. They're the best in the East. I think that they'll get the job done. But the 2 games I think they can win are the Nets and the Cavs. I mean, the Cavs did give them a little bit of a scrap battle in Brooklyn, but I do feel confident the Suns will be able to beat the Nets. And then the Cavs, they've just struggled a lot. Haven't really been able to be that great. Darius Garland is also out. I don't know if he's going to be out for this game, but he got injured this week, so he's been out this week. He was supposed to be reevaluated in 7 to 10 days, so we'll see if he's back in that contest. But if he's not available, the Cavs have been struggling, and even though the Suns did kind of get worked by the Cavs in Cleveland, this time it is different at home, and even if it is a back-to-back, I do think the Suns will prioritize to play in the second half of the back-to-back compared to the first half versus the Pistons. So I wouldn't be shocked if maybe this is the game that Booker and or Green does come back to kind of rejuvenate some of that Suns offense to help them out. And I can see them sneakily beating the Cavs. So I'm going to go 2-2 with wins over the Cavs and Nets, but losses to the Heat and Pistons.
Okay. I'm going to go 1-3, and I love the analysis, but I'm expecting this is going to be a little bit more of we can tinker. I know Michael P's been asking for more rookie time all year long. I feel like, hey, now's as good a time as any to test some things out in real stress conditions. These are, with the exception of the Nets game, 3 winning franchises right now. And so let's test some things out. Let's see what works, what maybe doesn't work that well, and see if we can't pull off some wins. But I think we can get a little creative in this one. And as we kind of wait, I would assume Green's not going to be able to go against the Heat. I think we could still beat the Nets. I think the other 2 are going to be a little bit more challenging, especially the size and the length that the Cavs could present with Jared Allen and Mobley down low. So that's where we're going to say, hey, let's talk more about these power forwards. So we'll see. Obviously, the good thing is it's going to be fun to watch, and that's what we know.
Mm-hmm.
So I am excited to see, can the Suns overcome it once again? And we'll be ready to check it out right there along with you, Planeteers. Special news for next week's show. Suns Planet is going on tour again. It's been a while since we visited another country. We are visiting Austria. In case any of the Planeteers have not heard, there was a Suns fan that came all the way from Austria, got to take some pictures with the players, got that picture with Gambo, and we're going to hear a little bit about his story next Saturday. So can't wait for that one. Learn a little bit about Austria. Hopefully they have a good national anthem, and I don't totally butcher it like I did with the German one all that time ago. So excited to do a Suns Planet visits. We're going to be in Austria, so get the food and the drinks ready Austria style. Bruce, where can the folks find you? And what's your favorite Austrian food?
I don't know my favorite Austrian food, so I'm gonna have to figure that out when we do the podcast, see if there's anything that I do like. But you can follow me here at Bruce Velez over on Twitter to get all the updates on NBA or the Suns, and you can check my workout at Bright Side of the Sun. I've been a little bit lackluster. Sorry to John and apologize because I've been busy in my actual life the last couple of weeks, but I'm going to be getting back on the grind. I did an article this last week talking about the Suns bench unit in which I thought would be their bench unit. If you missed that, check that out because there's some cool advanced stats that I pulled up that show that a lineup of Gillespie, Goodwin, Allen, Ryan Dunn, and Osugudaro could be very valuable for this Suns team in the small minutes that they've already played. But we'll have to wait and see for that lineup to finally get out there on the court with Jalen Green fully healthy, because obviously the Suns are back injured. So some time to wait for that, but definitely check that out because I do think that the Suns team will be good on both ends and in the starting and the bench lineup when that is the case. But yeah, that's basically it for me.
Well, I'm very excited to learn a little bit about Austrian culture next week as well. I know it's similar in some regards to German culture. So I just took a quick look while you were saying you don't know. And Wiener Schnitzel is back on the menu, which is perfect when it's -4 in Iowa. That and a little Spätzle and a little bit of goulash. I don't know if goulash is big out in Boston, but my mom used to make goulash, and it is a solid stew pasta. I don't know how exactly. It's good for you. It's good. Warms the soul a little bit in the fall and in the winter. So excited to learn a little bit more about that. And hey, Arnold Schwarzenegger he's from Austria. So there's a lot of good things to like about Austria. So I'm excited for that. Well, check me out. Follow me at Fallen Founder, and we will see you here next week. Hopefully with Kevin.
Yeah,
He's
hopefully
with a sore throat. But we will have Suns Planet visiting Austria, talking about 4 games with missing some of our top players. We'll see you then. Bye, Cheers.
Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay with us as the Suns get set to shine here on their home court.
Here's Perry. Cigar Hurd. Here's the jump shot. Good! It's good!
Al McCoy with you courtside. Pumped up a 3.
Suzanne! He ties it. Hey, D.A. Alan, Tim up here.
Happy birthday!
Right. Yeah.
I know it's over. Happy birthday, baby!
Here's Cameron Payne out on top. Durant, 3-pointer straight away.
Suzanne!
I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone in this arena this afternoon, to all of those that are watching and listening on radio and TV. Thank you for allowing me to tell the story of the Suns for 51 great years.
That pretty much wraps things up here. And for one last time, this is Al McCoy saying thanks for being there. Thanks for being with us tonight. And from the Footprint Center here in downtown Phoenix, we'll just say so long for now.